Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Patrice, and in this video we will be discussing things I've read. And now let's get started. In this video I'm going to talk about 5 books that I recently finished, and we will start with The Sisters Grimm by Menna van Praag. And we are starting with this book because I did not finish it. Um, I got to page 94 and I just said, no way, I'm not finishing this. So this book was 427 pages total. It was a fantasy. I'm going to give you the overview and then I'm going to tell you why I didn't finish it. The overview. In the Shadowland of Everywhere, 4 half-sisters, Liana, Goldie, Scarlet, and Bee, begin to nurture their elemental powers, learning to control earth, water, air, and fire. At 13, they're separated, and on their 18th birthday, they'll be subjected to a duel to the death with their father's soldiers. So, overall, this story is about how a demon made these 4 half sisters, and they're all different races, and how they are allowed to go to this place called Everywhere, which is kind of like a shadowland where they can get together even though they are in different parts of the natural world, like our world. When they dream, they can come to Everywhere and be together. So the girls, as they're growing up, they are able, like I said, to travel back and forth. But when they're 13, they can no longer get together in Everywhere. When they are 18, they will have to fight to the death in a duel. So their father, like I said, is a demon, and he has these soldiers, and they are like fallen stars, the soldiers. And they are able to, I guess, like find these girls. So the girls are called Grimms. So they are able to find the daughters, and I guess they are trying to kill the daughters before they turn 18. And I don't know why, like, it doesn't say why the father wants the soldiers and the daughters to kill each other. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if you want these girls to take over the world, like, why would you send your soldiers to kill them? I think he only wants the strongest daughters to survive. But again, like I said, that doesn't make any sense to me, because if you only have like a strong 1 or 2, like, how are they going to take over the world? But anyway, that's the gist of the story. The girls fight to the death when they turn 18. So now, I jumped ahead in the book because I'm telling you guys, this story dragged. It was dragging so bad. And I said, well, when do we get to any action? Like, the girls, when they're here in our world, it's like, it's full, their stories are just like all full of like trauma. They have like the worst luck. Like, one of the girls, she's like a thief, and she's stealing, and she gets caught, and she's got this little brother, and she's trying to take care of them, and they're orphans or whatever. And then there is another girl, Liana. Her aunt has like lost everything. Like, she's been spending too much money, so now it looks like she may have to get married just so that she can try to kind of help the aunt out so that they're not destitute and out on the street. And she doesn't really want to get married. And she was like a very good swimmer on her way to the Olympics, and then she had like a tragic accident and tore, I think, her Achilles, so that stopped her Olympic dreams. And then we have another sister. So that first sister was Goldie, the thief and the liar. Her name is Goldie. Then I just talked about Leanna. Then we have B, and she likes to fly, so she's in this relationship with this horrible guy that she doesn't even like, just because he has access to like a glider that she could use to fly. And then the last sister, Scarlett, she lives with her grandmother who has dementia, and her grandmother owns like a coffee shop, and it's not making much money. And I guess now like somebody from Starbucks is moving in down the street, so now, you know, the coffee shop may have to close. Like their lives are just like kind of like horrible. And like I said, I jumped ahead because like all we were getting was just like how horrible their lives were, and nothing was getting better. And I was looking for the action. Like I wanted to see how they use these powers and who has what powers. I guess Liana, she was I'm going to assume because she was a swimmer, she was the one attracted to water. B, I'm going to assume because she liked flying, she was the air. Scarlet, she could have like sparks come out of her fingers, so I'm assuming she's fire. And then Goldie, she's very good with plants, so I'm assuming she was going to be the earth Grimm. So I'm looking for like these powers to come out and for them to discover they've got these powers, and nothing was happening. Nothing but their sorry sack lives. So I jump ahead. So the way that the book is ordered, it starts out from October 1st, and then we go until like October 31st. So October 1st, the girls have like 30 or 33 days before they turn 18, and then they have to fight to the death. So it starts October 1st, and then it goes to like November 1st or 2nd or whatever that um, time span is to get them, you know, to their 18th birthdays. So we do not get until to November 1st until the book is 360 pages in. There's no action until you are 360 pages into the story. So there's no magic. And then like we go back in time and it tells us about like when they were 7 or 8 and when they were first getting together, and it's just like, are you kidding me? So this was totally not what I thought it was going to be. Like I had just had like pictures of Avatar and Legend of Korra, and they're using all these powers, and there's these like epic fight scenes with the soldiers and stuff like that. Like these girls don't even remember that they are Grimm. Like they have no recollection of their sisters, of these powers, anything. So yeah, I just gave up. I said I just did not feel like reading about their horrible lives and for 360 pages. And then, you know, we try to condense all the action into like 100 or so pages. So I did not finish this book, and I am not going to finish it. I'm not picking it up again. And this book is like the first in a series. I think this is a trilogy, and yeah, no, it just threw me off of the whole thing. I'm not doing that. So moving on, the next book is The Other March Sisters, and this was by Linda Epstein, Ali Malinenko, and Liz Parker. And this is a historical fiction. And the overview. In this companion to Louisa May Alcott's much-loved classic, Meg, Beth, and Amy March come into their own. Meg, newly married with twins, struggles to find the contentment that Marmee assured her would come. Beth knows her time is limited, but part of her longs to break out of her suffocating cocoon at home. Amy is keenly aware of the expectation that she'll save the family by marrying well. She discovers how she can remain true to herself, true to her art, and true to the love that was always meant to be. Now, I did finish this, and I liked the characters, so I enjoyed the Little Women, the movie, like the newest movie. I have not read the book. I want to read the book, but I have not read it. And of course, like I said, all of the original characters are here in the book. And then let's see. This was a nice, like, cozy read. It was very like I kind of found it repetitive at times. I really didn't get much much of a difference between this and the newest movie. Like there was no new information or anything, so it kind of got a little boring towards the end. Like I got to like the last 10 pages and I was ready to move on to another book because it's kind of like, well, you already know how this ends or whatever. So yeah, it was nice. Let me see, what did I end up giving it? I would give this like a 3.5, maybe rounded up to 4. Like there was nothing wrong with the book, but like I said, it just felt like I was reading the movie. Um, so yeah. The next book I'm going to talk about is Like Mother by Susan Rieger. And this was a contemporary fiction. In the overview says Lila is 2 years old when her angry, abusive father has her mother committed to an asylum. 3 decades later, Lila rises to the top of American media as the executive editor of the Washington Globe. Lila prioritizes her career, leaving the raising of her kids to her husband. Grace, their youngest daughter, feels abandoned and can't shake her resentment. Grace becomes a reporter and writes a scandalous book about her mother. While writing it, she realizes how little she knows about her own family. Did Lila's mother die in that asylum? How can you ever be yourself if you don't know where you come from? Now, this book, I really, really like this book. I enjoyed most of the character. It also, the story moves pretty quickly, and I enjoyed all of the family drama. So with between Grace and her mom, and then her mom's family, like Lila and her dad, and then her brothers and sisters, and then we meet some other characters later on in the book. Now, the one of my main gripes is Grace was super, super annoying. Like she could just not get over the fact that her mom wasn't like what she wanted her to be. And it's like, well, that's not who your mom is. Like she was holding it against her that her mom was kind of like her own person. She wanted her to live up to this ideal and this standard that she had made up for her, but it's like that's not who your mom is. Like, like you can't hold that against her. So yeah, Grace, super, super annoying. Um, and then Lila's mother is named Frida, and um, like the more that we learn about her, I'm not sure, you know, if we should feel sorry for her or if we should just not like her. Let's see. What else? I think the story, so we got a lot of side stories and like side characters, in the way that the jacket talks about the book. You think most of it would be about Lila and Grace and their relationship, and it isn't. It's mainly, it's about everyone. So Grace has like a best friend that she meets in college. Like her college roommate ends up being her best friend. And so then we get like a side story about her best friend's like relationship with her mom, and like her dad who wasn't around, and then like her marriage and stuff like that. And then we get like other side stories. So yeah, like it just like I just thought the book was going to focus more on Lila and Grace's relationship and how they deal with each other. So that's, I guess, like my only complaints. But I did really enjoy the book. So I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I did really like it. I think I picked the book up like on a Thursday or Friday, and then I finished it by like Monday or Tuesday. Like it goes really fast. Like once you, if you get into it, you'll be into it. Now, the next books I'm going to talk about are actually part of a trilogy. So this will be the first and second books that are in the trilogy. The first book is called Shallow Waters, and this is by Anita Kopacz, and this is a historical fiction slash fantasy. And then the second book in the series or trilogy is called The Wind on Her Tongue by the same author, and again, a historical fiction slash fantasy. And I will start with Shallow Waters. And it says, Shallow Waters imagines Yemaya and Orisha, a Yoruba deity of the sea, often depicted as a black mermaid, cast into 19th century America. Yemaya travels from Africa to America, where she confronts the evils of human bondage, searching for the man she loves. So this book, I really was drawn to this book because I love mermaids. I have had an obsession with mermaids since I was little. Like Splash was my favorite movie. I thought, if you dump some salt in a tub full of water, you would come out with a little mermaid tail. Like me and mermaids are, yeah, it's a really, really deep obsession. Love mermaids. So I was very, very intrigued when I saw that this story was about, African mythology and about a black mermaid. So very, very intrigued. So I like that it was based on African mythology because we really don't get too many stories that uses like myths from Africa. So I thought that was interesting. Again, I love mermaids, and I like that this story, it also weaved in Native American rituals and spirituality. So that was nice to see as well. And kind of like how um, African and Native American um, religion and spirituality practices are kind of similar and related. So that was awesome. I really enjoyed that part of the story and how the author wove those together. So some of the things I disliked, so it just seemed like famous people or famous historical figures were thrown into the story just because. So like Harriet Tubman makes an appearance and Frederick Douglass, and it kind of fits, but then it's like, really, like she just so happens to come upon these two famous historical figures. I don't know. Yamaya made one like really foolish decision. and I don't understand like why she did what she did. So there's a character in the book called Tilly, and she is a um, one of Yamaya's owners. She's the niece of the owner, and Yamaya makes a promise to get her home to her family. And Harriet Tubman tries to warn Yamaya, like, not to take this girl back there. And she's like, oh, well, I'm going anyway. And she's like, okay, like, it's not going to turn out like how you think it's going to turn out. But she goes anyway. But the thing about it is, she gets the girl to her uncle, and it's like, well, her uncle will take her the rest of the way. Like, you don't have to actually bring her to her doorstep. Like, this is dangerous for you to be here. Like, go to Canada and get out of the United States. Like, you know what you're up against here. So I don't know why she did that. That didn't make any sense. And we get a epilogue in the book, and it's like 5 years later, and I'm just wondering, like, well, what happened in those 5 years? Like, she ends up in Cuba, and it's like, well, how did you get there? I want to know what happened in those 5 years. Let's see. These and both of these books, in my opinion, it skews younger, like for a younger audience. So it's almost like it's written for young adults. So that's one thing. Like, I just felt like the story, like, it didn't dive deep into like where it could have gone. Like, I don't know. I'm not explaining this properly. Like, the author could have really given us like a very good story, and it just seemed like she was holding back a little. Like, for instance, like, Yamaya has like all these powers, and I don't know. I just feel like we are not um we're not getting the full potential of the story or the characters. Like, she knows she has these powers, and it's like, well, why aren't you using them? Like, like, this could have been like a really good like sci-fi fantasy story, and it just seemed like the characters were constrained in like the real world, like logic, I guess. Yeah, I guess I was looking for more. Like, the author could have done anything that she wanted, but she it seemed like she was just working with the constraints of like how stuff works in the real world. Like, this is a fantasy story. Like, you could have done like anything you wanted, and it just seems like she did not. So again, I enjoyed the story. Again, I like mermaids, so that had a lot to do with it. I will give this one a 3.5 stars. Now, the next book, The Wind on Her Tongue, this actually came out recently. And like I said, this is the second book, and there will be one other book in the series. And I'm going to assume, since, well, let me read you the overview first, and then I'll tell you what I think the third book will be about. So, in The Wind on Her Tongue, the second book in the Daughters of Three Waters trilogy, we meet Oya, the Yoruba deity or Orisha of the weather. Oya is sent to New Orleans to heal after a miscarriage. Oya navigates the landscapes of racism, colorism, and classism, grappling with her own identity and power, striving to find her place in a fraught and complex society. So now that you know that this is Daughters of the Three Water, no, sorry. This is Daughters of Three Waters trilogy. So now, since the first book was about Yamaya, this one is about Oya. The third one, I think, will be about Ocean. So that's what I'm guessing, but we shall see. So the likes, again, I like this because it's based on African mythology. Some of the characters from the first book make an appearance in this book, so I enjoyed that. And I like how this story, Oya's story, focuses on how we deal with grief and how we can heal from it and not let it hinder us in the future. Now, this book, I guess I was looking for more of Yamaya to be in this book. Like, I wish the story focused on Oya and Yamaya. Like, I felt like there were too many side stories, like too many introductions. Um, like Jesse James was in this book for some reason. I'm like, what does he have to do with this story? Like, he just made an appearance and then like a totally like side story that made no sense. And then Oya, she starts in New Orleans, but then she ends up in California, and we get like another like set of chapters about like the Asian uh, railroad workers. And again, it's just like I wanted this to be focused, I guess, on Oya and like how her powers and everything could be used. Like, we really didn't get to see her use her powers that much. Like, she used them, but it was more like they were being tempered. Some of the characters from the first book came back, and those were like some of the Native American characters, which I enjoyed. I would have liked to have seen more of Oya's story with Yamaya and the Native American characters, and just like how um African and Native American spirituality are related. Like, I thought that would have been a better story to me. Like, I guess like for both of these books, I'm not sure why the author would bring them to the United States. Like, I would have enjoyed seeing like a different fantasy story, like about them using their powers in their homelands or something like that. I don't I don't know. I was just confused with them coming to the United States and like being dropped into our story. I guess like using their powers and like changing the history of America, like changing the story, like that would have been a good fantasy story. Or I would have enjoyed it also if Oya stayed in New Orleans, because that was like, I felt like when she was there in New Orleans, that made more sense than her going to California. That made no sense. I would have enjoyed the story more if she stayed in New Orleans. All in all, I ended up giving this book I would kind of like to give it a 4 because I enjoyed The Wind on Her Tongue better than Shallow Waters. But then it's like, because again, the story skews for like a young adult audience, like I just don't think the author is working the story to its fullest potential. So I kind of want to give them the same rating, but I enjoyed The Wind on Her Tongue way more than Shallow Waters. So I'm going to leave it at a like a 3.5 to 24. I don't know what that means. So I don't want to give it a 4 though. I'm going to stick with a 3.5. So I'll give it a 3.5. So that is it for this video. Please let me know if you've read any of these books. Leave me a message in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.